Welcome to Mainland Television, Nelson Tasman's local regional television station. I'm Tanya Omar, and some of the stories coming up in our regional news roundup: response to lower student teacher standards, body found in Bulla named, TPPA roadshow hits the region, local musician Ali Cook remains #1 in Australian country charts, and more. The police search for a Wakefield woman who has been missing since Friday morning after her vehicle was discovered crashed in bush near the Kawatiri Junction near Murchison is over, after Tasman Police confirmed that the body found on Wednesday this week in the Bulla River is that of Wakefield woman Rachel Stokes. Police say there are no suspicious circumstances surrounding her death, and they would like to thank everyone who assisted in the search for Rachel, and their thoughts and condolences are with her family and friends at this time. As the matter has now been referred to the coroner, police have no further comment. The Tasman District Council will be pursuing a prosecution under the Resource Management Act for a permitted fire in Richmond near the Appleby Strait turnoff, which sent thick black toxic smoke into the area this week. Richmond Volunteer Fire Brigade attended the fire and spent an hour and a half putting it out, with officers having to wear protective clothing and breathing apparatus after a fiberglass boat had been put on the fire to burn. The fire permit issued was for green waste only. Council spokesman Chris Choate told Mainland News that Tasman Council will be pursuing a prosecution under the Resource Management Act. The maximum, as opposed to the potential sentence, is $300,000 or 2 years imprisonment. He said Council cannot predetermine what the court's decision may be. The Healthy Homes Guarantee Bill has passed its first reading in Parliament and now goes to Select Committee. The motivation around this bill is said to be able to prevent inadequate housing contributing to sickness, especially amongst children, through minimum standards of heating, ventilation and drainage. Mainland spoke with local representative for landlords Glenn Morris, Secretary of the Property Investors Association in Nelson. Well, thank you for joining us today, Glenn. Appreciate your time. On the face of it, the Healthy Homes Bill looks like a good piece of legislation. As a landlord, would you agree?
No, it's misaimed. The intention is excellent, but the solution is flawed.
And why is that?
Well, what they're looking at is trying to help these poor children, and I hope there's no landlord in New Zealand that's not concerned about the health of children. But what they're saying is you've got to do a range of different things to help these particular sick children, and what they're suggesting is not actually going to solve that problem. The particular house or particular child is quoted that the poor child died, who was in a Housing New Zealand house, and they said that they died, or the coroner said they died because there were problems with the house. And those problems were that it was cold and it was damp. But in actual fact, the house they were in was insulated, had heating, and had a ventilation system. And I've looked at the picture of the house, and they talked about a leak in the roof or in the hallway, and it looks like it was probably, my wild guess is, that it was probably through a bit of clear light roofing over sort of a passageway, and probably somebody walked on that roofing and made it leak, which is pretty common. So I think that really what they're looking at is hitting a whole 500,000 houses, which are rentals in New Zealand, to solve a problem which is not actually going to solve that problem. It's the problem is much deeper than just a few things.
And with the rental properties, who is it going to hit in the pocket?
It's going to hurt mostly tenants. Landlords are just one of these sort of people or group of people that if you sort of try to shoot them, they just sort of move around that and will buy something different or do all these things that the people want. It's exactly the same as the fires in Nelson, log fires. The council said, we're going to fix this here, And so they said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, we're going to do what we're told. We're going to take the fires out. We're going to put a different heating system in. Yeah, we suffer a loss, but we get over it. And so if we have to spend some more money, yeah, sure, we won't like it, but we'll stay in business. We're committed to this business, and with billions of dollars worth of investment collectively. And we're not going to go away, but someone's going to be hurt, and the people that are going to be hurt are the most vulnerable, the people that can't afford a slight rent increase.
And what is your understanding of the standard of rental properties in Nelson?
I've managed a lot of properties. I had a reputation for dealing with some of the more difficult ones, and when we sold up, we sort of divvied them up as to the quality and who got what rental. And I had about 10% that were lower grade. When I say lower grade, like quite old, over 100 years old, that sort of thing. But I think across the board, most of them are a lot bigger percentage are better. So I would think maybe you might be looking at 2 or 3% in Nelson would be really low grade. And when I say low grade, I mean as in maybe over 100 years old, or certainly built in the 1920s, 30s, which are built at a time when quality is not good. But by the same token, some of the new properties we had, like a Norrie Place, to quote an example, brand new subdivision, with double insulation and heat pump, all that, we had a situation there where the bedroom actually had a lot of condensation on the walls. And we just, it's always depended on more than just a building thing. It was to do with people.
So besides the solution that this bill is sort of saying in the media is going to help sick children and things like that, isn't it a good thing for there to be a standard for rental properties to, come up to?
Right, there already is multiple standards. And so it's already covered by a range of things. And one of the main check for landlords at the moment is the Residential Tenancies Act. But there's the City Council out there with their clipboards as well, and also Health Department and everything else. So when we have vulnerable children, we've got a lot of social people, such as from the hospital or wherever, public health system going through these houses, looking at them. So it's not just a rotten old landlord and a poor innocent tenant out there all alone by themselves. There's a lot of people wrapping around these people that need to be looked after. But they're not all very successful in achieving what we would hope.
Thank you very much, Glenn. Mr Morris also mentioned his concerns at details in the bill which could infringe on people's privacy. For example, how exactly will landlords monitor adequate temperatures in a tenant's home without encroaching on their privacy? There are approximately 10,000 rental properties in the Nelson region. What does Mount Owen, Bulmer, Stonypot and Nettlebed all have in common? Local caver Kieran Mackay, of course, and he caught up with Chrissy Small over coffee about his latest venture he's been working on, a documentary called Beneath the Mountain.
Kieran, your documentary on the Bulmer cave system, tell me, how's it gone, and tell me a bit about what people can expect to see in it.
It hasn't been quite as much of a nightmare as I expected it to be. Right, having a good machine to edit on has been really amazing. So it's been actually quite good fun to edit. It's about just under 40 minutes long, and it's pretty much the story. It's a bit of history of the caving on the northern side of Mount Owen, and also our expedition that took part in February. And you definitely see a little bit of fun camp life and some pretty exciting caving, some nice tight squeezes and a bit of cave diving, and it all kind of hangs in the air at the end.
Wow, and so, okay, and I know that you've got footage, you've got archival footage really. Tell me a bit about that. Have you used it in the documentary?
Yeah, some wonderful footage from back in the late 50s and early 60s. Amazing. It's just so incredible that the people actually took some cameras up there and took this amazing colour film, and it's all been digitally refixed up by some people up in the Waitomwa Caves Museum, and it's fantastic. Yeah, I reckon it makes the story actually. These people going up there with using ladders and ropes and flying in old helicopters and stuff, it's just amazing. Yeah, it's really exciting to have it.
Right, and I believe you've got a bit of stunning footage of an old, was it a safe air type of Bristol freighter flying through the canyons there. That looks a bit stunning.
Oh, it's amazing. Like in the early days, they tried carrying this stuff up, and because it had so much kit, it's actually really hard work carrying it. So one of the guys had a contact with the local Air Force, someone in the Air Force who lived locally, and he said, "Oh yeah, I think I can do this." So they got a Bristol freighter and put the gear in it and flew down an amazing flight down this valley and threw the gear out the window, basically, out the door, and parachuted it all in. It was amazing. It's incredible shot, incredible sequence.
Okay, so when will it be available for people to see, Kieran, and where will they see it?
Well, the world premiere, it's a really nice name. Oh, it's pretty exciting. World premiere. It's going to be at the Wanaka Mountain Film Festival in July. After that, it's going to be available on YouTube. And also we're doing a bit of a tour around the country with the film, and we're just to raise money basically for our expeditions for our future expeditions.
Great. So tell me, what is going on? I mean, you've been out caving again this last weekend.
Yeah.
Any new discoveries?
No, this wasn't actually an exploration trip. Well, I suppose every caving trip I go on is potentially an exploration trip, but it's more just taking a couple of friends through the Stormy Pot Nettlebed system. And that's an amazing through trip. We start high on Mount Arthur, go down through basically the bowels of Mount Arthur and come out in the Pierce Valley. And one of the best caving trips I've ever done in my life. It's amazing. It's really good fun. Lots of abseiling, beautiful big chambers, rivers to wade and swim through, and squeezes to go through, and you end up in the bush down the bottom of the mountain. It's a really incredible trip.
Now, we've had a rather dry summer, which I guess has made things a bit easier as far as caving goes.
Oh, yeah, for sure. One of the big problems, especially on the North Owen place where we're exploring, is water levels. And there's a couple of caves that would definitely, the passages we're exploring would be completely flooded if it had been raining. It's a little bit nerve-wracking. But so, yeah, the dry conditions have helped us big time.
When you go in, I guess you're looking at the weather conditions beforehand just to make sure that you're not going to suddenly end up with flooding while you're down there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Luckily, the weather forecasting's pretty good, so we can kind of, we can say, well, it's going to be 2 days of no rain, we'll just go for it. Yeah.
Okay, Kieran, now, have you been approached about doing tourism caving down there?
Oh, everyone asked this question. No, it's not really caves that are that good for tourist trips. No, it's you have to be quite really fit. You've got to be really good at technical stuff like abseiling and stuff. So it's not actually for beginners. And
No.
yeah, I love to start up. Love to take people caving. I really enjoy it, but do it in a little bit easier caves, a little bit closer to home.
Sure, and I guess, when you go into a cave, it has to be a bit of a team effort, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure. I do a lot of caving by myself, but really the best aspects of it are actually caving with other people and finding stuff with other people, and you're carrying gear for each other and you're looking after each other, and that's really the highlights for me. These days, it's the highlights for me, is working together with other people underground.
Okay, so maybe not immediately, but maybe sometime in the future you might do extreme caving expeditions for those more experienced, do you think?
Yeah, it's in the pipeline. We're definitely thinking about trying to get a little caving business going. I used to have one up in Waitomo, and it was really, really good. Really enjoyed it. It's just got to take things slowly, and if all the right things fall into place, we'll go for it. Yes.
Well, you're a very busy chap anyway, so I guess it's finding the time.
Yeah, it is actually. It's running caving expeditions, organising caving expeditions, and going on all these other exploration trips. It just takes up most of my time, and then also hanging out with my wife too, which I really enjoy as well. That takes up a lot of time, a lot of wonderful time as well. So trying to balance all those things is quite difficult.
Do you get asked to go to many schools around the region to talk about what it is you're doing?
I don't actually. I have spoken at many schools, and I'd love to. It's something I really, really would like to do. I'm more than happy to take the time out and go and speak to schools. If there's any schools out there that want someone to come and speak to their outdoor ed class or their geography class or something, any class, I'm more than happy to come and do it.
Yeah, well, what age were you when you first actually got into caving?
My first caving trip when I was about 6 years old, and that was to the tourist caves in Waitomo, and one of the caves just completely blew my mind, really, it changed my life. And I went really properly caving when I was about 14 years old, and that changed my life completely. Yeah. Much to my poor parents. Caving was going to be my direction after that.
Last week, New Zealand media reported that representatives from 7 universities wrote to the Ministry of Education stating that the entry-level standard for teaching needed to be raised and not fall into a Plan B degree category. We asked the University of Canterbury Nelson campus lecturer and centre coordinator Ian Bell for his response to these concerns. Well, thank you for your time here today, Ian.
Welcome.
And we are just wondering what your response is to the academia writing to the government and saying we need to raise the entry level for new teachers.
So my initial response is that I would agree with that. I think we should always be looking to improve, and one way of improving would be to raise the expectation of what you need to become a teacher. This is not a new issue. Over the last, whatever journey you've taken to become a teacher, that journey's changed probably over the last 50 years. So when I trained, which was a very long time ago, there was a different qualification, and those qualifications have changed over the years. And so this is just ongoing. So this is, the government signalled this probably about 5 years ago, that they wanted to raise the standard of teacher education, and it will go post-grad at some point. I'm not sure which point that will be, and this is probably just the first step. I don't think that we should separate, though, the qualification needed to enter the course and other criteria we need, because it's not just about the qualifications. It's also about an attitude. It's also about ability to communicate, and all of those are just as important, because everyone can have a qualification, but not everyone can teach. Part of getting onto this course is an interview process. And so that does filter out those who think they might be able to teach, and those that can teach.
It can be quite confusing, like I say, for lay people, because on one hand we hear about charter schools and it's not necessarily qualifications that are needed, and then we hear, well, we need to raise the standard. It can be quite confusing to understand. Is it all in a bit of turmoil at the moment?
Yeah, I think no more than before. It's obviously today's issue, education. I think we should always be talking about education. It's obviously one of the most important areas of our society is, providing free education for the population, which is equitable for everyone. We all would like to think that everyone is given their best chance to succeed. But if we look at statistics, and if we look at the statistics for national standards, that's evidently not true. There are certain places in the country where the standards, their scores seem to be lower, for whatever reason that might be. So I think we do need to talk about, teacher education. We do need to talk about schools. We do need to talk about how do we support our teachers and how do communities support our teachers to raise the awareness of what goes on in the classroom. I think they do that really well in Nelson, by the way. I'm talking nationally. I think, the connection between our communities and schools at the moment is really strong. And I think it's no coincidence that when you look at the national statistics for national standards, that Nelson actually scores higher than whatever the mean is. And so we're obviously, performing better in primary schools. And I think one of the reasons for that is the connection and support that schools get from both high quality staff and the communities. So that could be the answer. Perhaps we should, if we want to raise, the perception that teaching is a great career, then perhaps it's the community that should be part of that conversation, and they should be supporting the schools. Yeah.
I think it's hard for parents too who want to help their children invest in their education, hearing these reports, and it feels like, why would I want to spend thousands of dollars with my child in teacher education when the perception is they're going to come, it's not it's a dumbed down area now.
All right. So I think there's, Yeah, I think the emotive language used by the press that this qualification is dumbed down is probably not true at all. As I said, look, historically, the qualification has always changed. So, in 10 years' time, it will probably be a postgraduate qualification right the way across the board. And 20 years ago, it wasn't a 3-year degree. It was a certificate. And yet those people who trained 20 years ago are still in schools and are very, very good teachers. And quite a lot of them may be principals. So it's more than the qualification. I think the qualification will reflect the view of government at the time and reflect the view of population, rather than that this qualification is slightly less than another and as a consequence you're not a very good teacher. I think that's got absolutely nothing to do with it.
Has this sparked discussion amongst the students here at the Nelson campus?
I'll let you know in a couple of days because I've got them tomorrow. The Nelson campus, which is interesting, we're a bit of slightly different in that we attract people from our local area, and so they are very, very much connected to the community. So they're a reflection of our community, and our cohort the age range of our cohort is broader than you would probably see in Canterbury. So a lot of people have started here because they've either thought of a career change, or that perhaps they've been working in a school as a teacher aide, or perhaps they've been working with schools perhaps as a coach in some way, and they've had that insight into what goes on in the school, and they think, actually, this would be a really cool job, and I think I'll make a career change. So I don't think you could go to any of our students and say, is this plan B? Because it definitely isn't. It's definitely plan A. And they are committed to, some of them, as the stats say in the papers, could be up to $30,000 debt to make a commitment to becoming a really good teacher. So, yeah, I would say they're very committed, yeah.
The New Zealand Government's TPPA roadshow, with security supplied, was in town at Founders on Wednesday morning, which was mediated by former journalist Sean Plunkett. David Walker, on behalf of the government, outlined the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, to the 45 people who were in attendance. Around 50% of those were representatives from local industry. Mainland caught some of the questions put to David Walker by those attendees about their TPP concerns.
I'm more concerned about the sovereignty of the country and the fact that you may be sued if you adopt certain policy. I'm more concerned with, I guess, the environment. I'm very much an environmentalist, and also I'm into natural health products and things like that. There's two sides of my question here at the moment, actually. Firstly, as we know, New Zealand has got wanted to have a very high profile in being New Zealand green and alternative. We all know that. We've got a local identity here called Craig Potton, who did a documentary a couple of years ago, basically stating that 99% of our rivers.
What do you know about the TPPA?
Not a lot. Oh no, it should be all right. But it should be a good idea if it works.
I know there's an awful lot of fuss made about it, and I think it's probably a good thing, and people are just on a bandwagon simply because they want to be on a bandwagon about it.
What's the TPPA?
The Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Oh, I don't know anything about it.
After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.
Hi there, Julian Toon, Waimea Telecommunications. We install and maintain domestic and commercial satellite TV, UHF Freeview and Mainland TV installations in the Nelson, Tasman regions. We specialise in Panasonic telephone systems and provide communications, Wi-Fi, IT and wiring for internet, fibre, computers and DSL systems. At Waimea Telecommunications, we also provide specialist electronic systems for features such as a security camera you can watch on your TV, visitor alert systems and much more. Improve your security and communication and entertainment today. Call us on Waimea Telecommunications on 021 472297, ytel.co.nz.
Are you looking for a scooter, walker, wheelchair, baby seats or pushchairs? Then come in and see the Nelson Region Specialist at Mobility for You, 269 Queen Street, Richmond, opposite the library. We have a huge selection of scooters, walkers, wheelchairs and accessories, along with a free booklet guide. We also provide a breakdown service if you ever get a puncture or a flat battery. We have fully equipped service vans to rescue you. Hi, I'm Robin Jordan and I invite you to call in and see the friendly team at Mobility for You, 269 Queen Street, Richmond, opposite the library.
We're the team at JCar, right here in Nelson, 120 Hardy Street. Our shop is full of electronic items,
including security alarm systems, electronic components,
solar and power,
electronics toys,
sound systems, cables and much, much more. JCar.
120 Hardy Street, Nelson.
I'm Larry London from VOA Music Mix, bringing you news on the hour from around the world, plus music 24/7, from the latest hits to those classic favorites to jazz on Saturday mornings, plus much, much more. You can contact us by Googling Mainland TV or follow us on Facebook. Cheers from the team at Mainland Radio 1 and VOA Music Mix.
Sit and Be Fit is on at the Victory Community Centre Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. at the Victory Community Church, 238 Upper Vanguard Street. School terms only. Fun while you get fitter, work at your level.
On behalf of the team here at Mainland Television News, thank you for joining us.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.
Why would you want to pay as much as $1,000 for a single bed mattress when you can buy a high quality locally made mattress like this for as little as $220? And a queen size mattress could cost you in excess of $3,000, but at Nelson Beds you could have a mattress like this as low as $425. So why would you go out and spend a fortune on your child's bedroom when you can come to Nelson Beds and buy a complete single mattress and base set, a 7-drawer Scotch chest, a headboard and a 3-drawer bedside cabinet for as little as $979? So call and discuss our custom manufacturing options and local after sales service at Nelson Beds, Nelson's only bedding manufacturer.
Nelson Tire Center, great prices, great service. Buy your own Bryford trailer, all types, all sizes. See Colin Douglas for your tires and batteries.
Hi there, Julian Toon, Waimea Telecommunications. We install and maintain domestic and commercial satellite TV, UHF Freeview and Mainland TV installations in the Nelson, Tasman regions. We specialise in Panasonic telephone systems and provide communications, Wi-Fi, IT and wiring for internet, fibre, computers and DSL systems. At Waimea Telecommunications, we also provide specialist electronic systems for features such as a security camera you can watch on your TV, visitor alert systems and much more. Improve your security and communication and entertainment today. Call us on Waimea Telecommunications on 021 472297. ytel.co.nz.
World War I was a defining period in our history, impacting greatly on the lives of people from the Nelson province. Memories of the First World War is an exhibition which will be displayed in a number of regional venues and is currently on at the Nelson Provincial Museum.